since our story went up, only one of them has been suspended. One of them, another one, has blocked me, so I don't know whether his account's been suspended or not. It appears to still be up. And then there's another one who is still active. And as Twitter suspends these accounts, new ones just keep popping up in their place. So they're brazenly out there on Twitter, these jihadists linked to ISIS, saying they're going to use suicide belts, nail bombs, to attack specific locations in London. They name Paddington Underground Station, they name Covent Garden, which is a popular tourist area in central London, and say that they're going to carry out these attacks. And these accounts, most of them are still active.
And they show what look like professional plastic explosive bombs jacketed with ball bearings and nails. And remember, Paul, I was there to make the film Terror Storm 3 days after the London bombing. We have all the eyewitnesses. That was a setup where they had people set up in a drill. That in the old days, they would run drills and set up patsies, and the governments would stage them. Now they have their own jihadi armies. They've allowed Saudi Arabia to fund, who they allow to travel in and out of the U.S., England, and the rest of the EU. This is a real synthetic army, and I think these threats should be taken very, very seriously.
Well, here's the thing, Alex. When we struck Libya in 2011 with the United States, after that, they brought across a load of these jihadists from Libya, the same kind who are now leading the charge for ISIS. We had the video a couple of months ago about the leader of the LIFG fighting forces in Libya, which helped overthrow Gaddafi, is now leading ISIS in Libya. Well, some of those jihadists were brought across to Great Britain to be trained at military bases in Britain. There's all kinds of stories about how they were out raping people and all this kind of stuff. So now we've got jihadists threatening attacks in London. And again, we go back to my video, which I posted in the middle of December last year, saying ISIS attacks on Western countries were imminent. Up until then, there'd only really been one incident, which was the attack on the Canadian Parliament in October. Since then, we've had Paris, we've had the Sydney siege, we've had Copenhagen, and of course, last week we had Texas. So again, we put out that warning weeks before these attacks started taking place. And now they're all over Twitter again saying they're going to attack London, specific locations, taking photographs of the weapons and saying that this attack is coming soon.
And we know that the FBI had picked up these last two prison-recruited American jihadists who were being directed by ISIS and by Islamic State itself. And now they're saying they've got them in 48 states. They're ready to strike in 15. They're ready to strike because they've been allowed in. Paul, how many times did we write or cover on the radio or the news where I said 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, that this jihad army that the West has funded, NATO has supported, and Saudi Arabia has trained and coddled, along with Turkey and others, was going to start striking the West, and that would be used to take our basic liberties in phase 2 of the fake terror war. And now it's happened exactly as I said it would. And again, listeners who are new need to see all this. I have my limited crew busy working on new news. We've tried for 2 years to create a radio log to write all this down. We need to search. About 3 years ago, where I kept saying they're going to use jihadi groups out of the Middle East now that are allowed to fly back and forth to attack. This is now happening, and the government thinks we're so dumb that they're now not going to get the blame for funding these groups to begin with. The good news is I saw mainstream news articles this week admitting that our government helped create ISIS and that it's just a new offshoot of Al-Qaeda. And then how can we have new terror attacks when they're going to leave the border wide open and let these jihadis fly back and forth? Remember, Paul, it was a SWAT who even Fox News had Justice Department officials on exposing the fact that the leader of the 7/7 bombings of the Patsies was MI6 and was protected. So it's just incredible, Paul, that this is going on.
And, you know, Alex, even before we started arming the so-called moderate Syrian rebels, Francois Hollande, the French president, admitted recently that he broke EU embargo laws to arm those rebels illegally before any of that happened. So we know it was already going on before that. Now we have reports thousands of jihadists traveling from European countries into Syria and Iraq to join ISIS. And of course, thousands more are remaining here, and they're going to be the ones that are carrying out these attacks.
It is a worldwide jihad directed by the globalist, and when it's all done, they'll be given the Middle East as their reward to Saudi Arabia, and the globalists will be given the West, who they've protected from the very terrorists that they helped wind up and release in our society. I mean, it's crystal clear, and I go back to 2.5 years ago when Senator Paul and Senator Cruz, following our lead and our listeners' lead, I've got to brag, folks, it was us again, just like Jade Helm that initiated the international debate. We forced, and the military joined us in tweeting out thousands of images with military, including non-commissioned officers and officers, holding up their pieces of paper saying, I will not fight for al-Qaeda in Syria. I will not fight for jihadis. I will not fight to do this. I will not be their air force. So now they just rebranded as ISIS and Islamic State. They've launched all these attacks, and I have predicted more than 500 times what is now happening. I have literally just left signposts up and red flags to the 1,000 wins. All of this ad nauseum until everyone was sick of hearing it. And now it appears that they are going to let these people launch this attack and then basically take our basic liberties. So we need, again, to have the military on Jade Helm and all of it come out and say, with signs they're holding up, we know Jade Helm is about going after the Tea Party. We need to expose it. And again, they want to use the military to say, how dare you be against the military? No, we're not against the military. We're against a mission that's unconstitutional. Shifting gears, Paul, I want to go back into al-Qaeda with their new name, because the public wasn't scared of al-Qaeda anymore. So now they're supposedly killing all their leadership in the last few months to give us the new bunch, the new generation of al-Qaeda. Same flag, same people, same funders. This time, though, it's a real proxy army. But what do you make of the Jade Helm coverage now going into the stratosphere? I mean, Bill Maher, The Daily Show, it's everywhere. And what does it sound to you, the story I told you, how I said, no, I'll only do live. Okay, you can do live. Well, now it's not live. We'll pick you up 3 hours before showtime to tape it. And I say no. They don't respond back and then send a car 12 minutes before. I mean, what does that sound like to you?
Well, it sounds like they either screwed up or did it deliberately. But the thing about Jade Helm is, where is the left? Most of this, most of these demonization campaigns are coming from the left, people like Jon Stewart and others, who suddenly seem to not give a damn about militarization of police, martial law. There are several articles today stating that, they were really up in arms after Bush began to take steps with the National Guard to turn that into more of a domestic law enforcement unit. Now it's a total conspiracy theory. That cannot possibly happen under Obama. So there's no concern whatsoever from the left about this. And in fact, now they're, bringing up the conspiracy theorist trope to downplay any concern about this, when we know that it's also dual purpose. If you flip the Jade Helm map around to the side, this is also about occupying countries, not only in the Middle East, but also in Eastern Europe as we build up for this new Cold War.
That's right. It fits perfectly over Eastern Europe. It fits perfectly over the Middle East. Everything the globalists do is multifaceted. That's why they call it mastering the human domain. And then we go look at all those events on C-SPAN and other platforms, and it's an admission of the total takeover of the entire world, the main enemy, though, being veterans, gun owners, and others. And that's the problem that Jon Stewart and Stephanopoulos and all of them have, is that everybody who's informed has read the mainstream media's press saying, thank God the Pentagon's training to take on gun owners. Thank God they're training to take on the Tea Party and veterans. Thank God the IRS is auditing and arresting people who are conservatives. See, they have a problem. MSNBC goes on the air. I've seen it 3 times, and I barely monitor them. I've actually seen it live 3 times, them praise the IRS persecuting. I mean, these people are flaming totalitarians. And so everybody knows this is happening who has a brain. and it transcends right-wing or left-wing, Paul. I think they've jumped the shark on this.
Well, I mean, look at how the left reacted to Syria. Look at how they reacted to Libya. They were gung-ho for those humanitarian interventions. Now we have US troops training Syrian rebels still. This came out just last week to, quote, fight ISIS, when the majority of those rebels went and joined Jabhat al-Nusra.
Stay there. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, that's mainstream news, what we said 4 years ago. See, everything we say, it just keeps coming true because it was already true. We know what we're talking about. We've got our you-know-what.
It was the great American humorist, Mark Twain, who said, "Loyalty to the country always, loyalty to the government when it deserves it." If Mark Twain were alive today, I think he would quickly conclude that loyalty to our government lost its due right after 9/11.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad that you could join us today for this Wednesday, July 25th, 2001 broadcast. Tyranny is enveloping the globe, and the United States is a shining jewel the globalists want to bring down, and they will use terrorism as the pretext to get it done. Look, we've seen the news stories that you've wanted to blow things up, that you have blown things up, and that you're saying that 4 million of us are going to die and we need martial law and the Associated Press at one of your little drills you had. And that we're aware of who the terrorists are if you pull this. This can stop this Hitlerian Reichstag event. I want to put the toll-free number up for Congress. And I won't want you to believe Alex Jones. I want you to go get these news stories off my website. I want you to call these major newspapers. I want you to find out these statements were true by the White House about preparing for martial law. And I want you to let them know that if there is any terrorism, we know who to blame.
We have a Congress that has an approval rating that is no longer detectable by current technology. A growing public awareness that the war of drugs has been manufactured by the CIA and organized by the DEA.
If you want to collect content on the American, then a court order is issued.
They are not, the National Security Agency is not listening to Americans' phone calls, and it is not reading Americans' emails. None of this programs allow that. As a matter of fact, the Patriot Act and that part of that 702 says it is expressly prohibited by law that you can read and wholly surveil domestic email traffic in the United States.
Even if you're not doing anything wrong, you're being watched and recorded, and the storage capability of these systems increases every year consistently by orders of magnitude. You simply have to eventually fall under suspicion from somebody, even by a wrong call, and then they can use the system to go back in time and scrutinize every decision you've ever made and attack you on that basis to sort of derive suspicion from an innocent life and paint anyone in the context of a wrongdoer.
Government law enforcement, namely the FBI, NSA, DHS, and TSA, illegally read our correspondences and listen to our communications while sexually fondling our families, all in the name of national security, which pitifully adds up to national insecurity. We have a military that is exponentially raping female soldiers, wives of soldiers, and any female unfortunate enough to live near a military base.
I don't know how you can say that having 19,000 sexual assaults and rapes a year is discipline and order. I do not understand how you can say that of those 19,000 cases to only have approximately 2,400 even reported because the victims tell us that they are afraid to report because of retaliation and the blame they will get and the scorn they will get from their colleagues is order and discipline. And I really cannot understand how 2,400 cases, only 240 of which go to trial, can result in you believing that that authority is giving you discipline.
There is something that seems odd about the power to reject findings that came out of a jury in the absence of some major obvious problem.
Meanwhile, the quiet rollout of Bill Clinton's 1033 program, mushrooming into the NDAA, has been building the militarized police force Goliath, while genuine usurpers beat down a path to the highest branches of our government.
But I welcome this kind of examination because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order.
The problem of the Bush presidency